Good morning, friends. On this beautiful, balmy day. Nice to see all of your beautiful faces. As the first one in my family born in the United States, I know that my parents did the best they could, raising a family in completely unfamiliar territory. But of course, there were cultural challenges. I grew up in an environment that was very focused on achievement. In some ways, this was motivating. It encouraged me to work hard. But it also meant that I endured criticism and disappointment when I failed to meet high expectations. For example, I once brought home a quarter-term report card in high school with the dreaded B+ for physical education. The quarter-term report card wasn't even meant to be on a permanent transcript in the same way that a semester report card was, so I didn't really think much of it. But that B+ was bad news, and my parents were clear in their anger. It's telling, I think, that I still remember this event. A childhood filled with judgment takes a toll. I often heard comments not just on my accomplishments, but about my body as a chubby kid. On the whole, I often felt totally unlovable. I know, logically, of course, my parents love me, and they did very well to provide materially for our family, but it has always been difficult for me to reconcile that with my heart. Fast forward to young adulthood. By some miracle, someone had decided they loved me enough to ask to share a lifetime with me. Commence wedding planning. I grew up secular. He grew up Lutheran, but had not been to church for many years. We wanted a minister who would honor both of us. And so I found myself hiding out in the back pew of an unfamiliar church as I tried to figure out whether this particular minister might align with us. I listened as she spoke of God ever present everywhere as a force of love and wisdom. I listened as we were told that we humans are divine at our core and therefore inherently good. I listened as I was told that I was sacred and worthy and inherently deserving of unconditional love. And to my great surprise, I found myself weeping, full-on sobbing with big, deep, ragged breaths, that kind of strong, ugly crying you get. I still get emotional sometimes thinking about it. But I'm grateful for it, because this was such a powerful thing, to be explicitly told that we are enough, without demands or conditions, and in spite of inevitable human flaws, we are still wholly deserving of love and acceptance just as we are. We are enough and we are loved. We live by this in our first UU principle, affirming and promoting the inherent worth and dignity of every person. I believe this is born from universal love. It's a powerful guide for our actions, and it drives the rest of our UU principles. Think about the impact of universal love on a single person. Now think about one person sending such love out into the world. Now multiply that across groups and communities, across cities and countries, and even around the world. Can you imagine? The potential impact of a universal love that drives action for justice, equity, and compassion. Some of us may take universal love for granted, but there are still so many people struggling with criticism, judgment, even rejection. The force of universal love is not just life-affirming. It is life-saving. I have deep, deep gratitude for the love shared by our UU community, and I'm constantly striving to pay forward the abundance that I receive. I fall short often, but I also remember that love drives action, justice, equity, and compassion, and with love we can build a beloved community where everyone is welcome and cared for. Come now, let us worship together.
Thank you for that most powerful reflection, Karen. It's good to have you leading worship with us this morning. And good morning and salam alaikum, deep peace of the morning to all of you. It is so good to be with you. I am really glad that dream this morning that I woke up at 4 p.m. and missed church was just a dream. I suppose that's every minister's nightmare. Knock on wood. My name is the Reverend Jeremiah Lau-Shabazz Kalendae, and I am honored and privileged and blessed to serve this historic congregation as its developmental minister. On behalf of our entire ministry of worship, we are all honored to be with you on this beautiful morning. It is a good morning, for we have all received an invitation to universal love. If this is your first time joining us, or if you're new to our congregation, we extend a special welcome, and we hope that you'll return in future weeks and learn more about the opportunities of being a member of this historic liberal religious community. We light our chalice this morning with these moving words from the Reverend Max A. Coots. When love is felt or fear is known, when holidays and holy days and such times come, when anniversaries arrive by calendar or consciousness, when seasons come as they do, old and known, but somehow new, when lives are born or people die, when something sacred is sensed in soil or sky, mark the time. Respond with thought or prayer or smile or grief. Let nothing slip between the fingers of your mind, for all of these are holy things we will not, cannot find again.
Hi, friends. So for our music for the morning, this is Lead with Love by Melanie DeMore. We'll start off the tune, and at some point, I'll motion and invite you to sing the refrain with us. The words are very easy. You ready? You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. That's it.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
Don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
You're
not alone.
Don't you give up.
Don't you give up.
Keep moving on.
Keep moving on.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your eyes and
Don't you despair.
Look up ahead.
See, the path is there.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. I know you're scared.
I know that you're
And I'm
scared.
scared.
Ooh, that music, beautiful. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community Church of Santa Monica. I am Karen Shue Patterson. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm honored to be your worship associate for today. We are so happy to have all of you with us in the sanctuary and online. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we are glad you're here. If you're new to our community, you can find many ways to connect, learn about our faith, and get involved. Please take a look at our beautiful new website at UUSM.org. It's gotten a gorgeous new makeover. Please note you may need to reset your password to access members-only areas of the new website. While we still are limiting some kinds of large indoor gatherings, we are here in person right now. Some of our activities, like coffee after the service, are happening slightly differently, but they are still happening. We are also still holding many meetings and small group gatherings online. We offer programs to serve the needs of our congregation and to be of service to the larger world, including broad religious exploration and personal development for people of all ages. We also join with other social justice advocates to work for justice and harmony in our world. Unitarian Universalism is not defined by creed or dogma, but is guided by principles that affirm the worth and dignity of every person and encourage an individual search for truth and meaning. We honor the wonder of existence and believe that we are all connected to each other and to the interdependent web of life. Our beliefs are drawn from scripture and science, nature and philosophy, personal experience, and ancient tradition. We support all in a lifelong search for insight and inspiration. We are an open, affirming, and welcoming congregation. We are diverse in backgrounds, social locations, gender identities and sexual orientations, ethnicities, abilities, spiritualities, and philosophies in life. We advocate unity in diversity, upholding the supreme worth of all beings, held together through love, our connection to life, and the gifts that reside in us all. We are united in our desire to create a diverse, inclusive, beloved community, to live the principles of our faith, and to serve the wider world. Whatever your beliefs or faith tradition, we invite you to help us build a community where together, in our diversity, we may covenant in love and justice. May you find comfort, camaraderie, and inspiration here. As we gather in this space and in our virtual spaces, we recognize that we are connected with one another through the winds that give air to all beings and through the waters that move deep into the earth and up into the sky. An important step on our journey towards justice is our acknowledgement that the ground beneath our feet is, always has been, and continues to be the home of indigenous peoples, including the Tongva, many of whom have been forcibly removed to other lands. So I do have a few announcements. Work continues on our Arizona lobby repair project. So during the months of the project, the Arizona lobby area, including the bathrooms on the first and the second floors, are blocked and inaccessible. So if you do need to use a restroom, we have one in the sanctuary lobby, and there are three restrooms in the cottage, which is the building across the courtyard. So we apologize for the temporary inconvenience caused by the construction, and we appreciate everyone's understanding. And for our childcare today, please welcome Rochelle Palayo and Dela Valle. We're helping with childcare today. I don't know if they're here. Maybe they're outside already. Hi, thank you. So they'll be in the cottage soon. Kids are welcome to stay in the sanctuary to hear the story for all ages, which is coming up in a few minutes. Or if they would like to go to the cottage right now, they can do some activities there. So thank you to Rochelle and Dela. Dining for dollars. Our fall 2022 seasonal Dining for Dollars fundraising auction is here. Now is the time to register. Bidding starts on September 15th, which is this Thursday, and goes through September 25th for events from October 1st through January 1st. And bidding will happen through the Octria website, which can be found at our website. So thank you to our Dining for Dollars committee. Thank you for all the hard work and for everyone who is offering contributions, events and goods and services. It's a great time. For more information, please visit the table in the courtyard after the service. Let's see. Camp de Venerable Pines. We love camp. Our annual church family camp weekend at de Venerable Pines is next weekend from September 16th through 18th. You may know about the current Radford fire, which is on the mountain ridge just beyond the campsite in the San Bernardino Mountains. It's near Big Bear. I checked yesterday. As of yesterday, the fire is 59% contained, and we are keeping our fingers crossed that the camp weekend can still happen safely. And we are keeping the firefighters in our thoughts and thankful for their services. As far as I know, camp is still on?
Yes.
Okay, great. Are there still spots available?
Yes.
There are still spots available, so go to the website and speak to someone in the courtyard and register for a spot at camp. There are many, many more events happening here than can be covered. I encourage you to please go see the website at UUSM.org or the e-newsletter for more information about upcoming events. And now I would like to invite the Reverend Jeremiah Kalendae to share a special announcement about an exciting new leadership opportunity.
So we are piloting a new leadership development program. We're one of 5 congregations nationally, and Norm Ritchie, our vice president of our congregation, is leading this effort as our program director. And we are bringing together present and past leaders of our congregation, from our congregational presidents to our leaders from our nominating committee, Reverend Dr. Kakanza Nuri Robbins, and many others, to really learn about how we can practice spiritual leadership as Unitarian Universalists and provide feedback to this national program before they launch this new program. So there's still just a few spots left. We've had a great group of people sign up already, and I want to thank you if you are one of those people. But I also want to encourage you that in the next few days, if you're interested in signing up for the new leadership development program, it'll last for approximately the 10 months of the church year. There'll be one 2.5-hour facilitated meeting workshop every month. And then there's also an opening retreat that we'll be hosting next month. So if you're interested in honing leadership skills or being an emerging leader, maybe that's something you've thought about but you've been afraid to try, this is a great way to be surrounded by some really loving and talented leaders in our community and be nurtured into that leadership. So I hope you'll sign up. Thank you.
Please rise in body or spirit. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, and please remain standing for our covenant and hymn of praise.
Is the love
Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, thus do we covenant with each other. El amor es la enseñanza de esta iglesia. Buscar la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es la oración. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar el conocimiento en la libertad, servir a la humanidad en comunión. Así es como convivimos unos a otros. I want to welcome a dear friend, Kim Colmanson, to come up and share our story for all ages. Oh, and we are accepting donations for the Westside Food Bank. If you have donations, please bring forward at this time, and you can place them in the basket here in the front. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm going to share a story with Yui and all of you. Yui, we're going to talk a little bit today about a story called A Sea of Pink, and it is a little bit adapted, but it's a story by Elisa Davy Pierman, and it's part of our UU Tapestry of Faith curriculum for 4th and 5th graders, which is pretty cool. Okay, Yui, you ready? All right. So, Scott was nervous on his first day of junior high. Junior high started in 5th grade in his town, and he was going to be one of the youngest kids there, and everything was going to be new to him. So he got everything on the back-to-school list, and he packed his backpack, and he had his favorite snacks and his favorite lunch, and he even wore his favorite pink T-shirt for good luck. Okay? So he takes the bus, and he gets off the bus, and he looks around, and he is absolutely astounded at how huge some of the older kids looked. And he kind of wished he would have a growth spurt really soon, right? So he's looking around, and he doesn't see anybody he knows, none of his friends. So he's just looking through this new place. He's looking for room 205 and looking, and bam! Somebody slams him against the lockers in the hall. And he looks up at least 5 huge older kids, and somebody says, "Hey, girly boy, boys don't wear pink at this school, and if you do it again, you're gonna get a beat down. Hey, knock it off and break it up and keep moving," a teacher says. So they drop him, and he's just sitting there and looking, and he looks at the teacher, and it looks like nobody even noticed what was happening. But some other kids did. So he sees some other really big kids walking towards him. And he gets up. He's going to get out of there. And they say, wait, it's okay, man. I'm Travis. And the other one says, I'm David. We saw what happened to you. Can you tell us what they said? And Scott told them what the kid said to him and the threats that they made. And Travis says, that's ridiculous. You can wear whatever you want to this school. And Travis and David walked Scott to his homeroom. And they said, you know what, Scott? We're going to be looking out for you. We're going to keep an eye on you. So that day after school, Travis and David were talking. And one of them, the conversation goes a little something like this. So I'm so mad that just one bully can tell people what they can and can't wear. We should really do something about this. And the other one says, yeah, okay, I agree, but what can we do? Well, we can tell a teacher. Yeah, but they're just going to do it before school and after school and at recess and on the weekends. And the other one says, we got to take this to the people. And the other one looks and says, you know what? this is a great idea. And a smile sparked on his face. He says, you know what? I have a good idea. Let's ask all of our friends to wear pink on Monday. The other one gets really excited and says, yes, this is an excellent idea, but let's not just ask our friends. Let's ask everybody we know to wear pink on Monday. So they get on the phone, and they're talking to extra friends, and it really kind of like rolls into something big. And they ask people to wear pink, and one of them suggests that maybe they take up a little collection and they bring a bunch of extra pink shirts for kids that don't have pink. So they spread the word via social media, and it just went, right? So Monday morning, Travis and David go to school early, and they go to school early, and they have their box of pink t-shirts, and they look at the bus, and a bunch of people are already getting off the bus wearing pink t-shirts. And those who don't get to grab something from the box. And they even have fabric for pink armbands, and somebody even has a pink basketball, and it is a sea of pink. So the bullies were not happy. They were giving dirty looks at everybody wearing pink and scowling, and one of them even like threw a chair in the cafeteria, so mad about pink, right? So, but everybody just kind of laughed, and this made everybody feel pretty happy, right? It made everybody feel pretty happy. But, in the end, there was a sea of pink, and at least 415 kids, over half the student body, kids of all genders, were wearing pink that day. A sea of pink. So the bullies got the message from the crowd in pink, and the message was about belonging and standing up for people. And it made almost everyone in the school feel happier. I think I said that part already. But what about Scott? So Scott came to school that day wearing his lucky pink t-shirt, which I think a little bit something like maybe my friend Ian is wearing over there. Pink Thrasher. He's wearing his pink t-shirt, but he is hidden under a bunch of sweatshirts. He doesn't want to be seen. And when he gets to school that day and he sees that half the student body is wearing pink, he is able to take off his sweatshirts and be himself and wear his lucky pink t-shirt. So, Yui, what I noticed is that we're talking about belonging. This is our theme at the moment. And that I noticed that some people seek to find a place, just find their people who are just like them so that they can belong. But sometimes we can't just go find other places. We're kind of stuck in the community that we live in or the communities that we have access to, our workplace. And it's really amazing when a community takes action to signal openness for you to belong in a wide range of ways, and also widens that circle of belonging because they know about the inherent worth and dignity of all people and beings and want you to feel that love. Okay? So we are going to send our UU youth and families to do our Faith in Action activity today. It's an all-ages beach cleanup at the Annenberg Beach, our adopted beach. Thanks, Yui.
Over through the
Spiritual exercise is the means by which we expand our beings and we open wide the doors of our hearts. Now, in our multi-religious spiritual community, we embrace a variety of personal spiritual practices, and some of them have been present to us in our services for centuries. Now, this is the time we make in our services for deepening our practice together, in community, by centering, reflecting, holding stillness, and offering whatever prayers may be on our hearts this week. I invite you to bring such moments, of course, into your daily lives and personal practices to bring a little bit more centeredness and peace into your lives. Let us begin our centering practice by becoming present to ourselves, our embodiment, our community here with us and the natural world. Let us lay aside whatever may be keeping us from being present with intentional breathing and focused awareness. Let us experience the weight of our bodies, perhaps the sensation of our feet touching the ground beneath us, connecting us with Mother Earth. Let us experience an awareness of our breathing and allow it to connect us with the air that is all around us and the heavens above us. Let us experience the beating of our hearts as life force is moved through our bodies, connecting us with the waters that encompass our planet home. And lastly, let us experience our awareness of all of these, connecting us with the spirit of all life. In deep communion with being itself, let us offer our mindfulness and our prayer. May our hearts be open, soft, and full of life. May we join with the generations that arrived before us and those on the morning's horizon. May our lives welcome joy and serenity, finding they are so often of our own making and present to us in the relationships that hold us. We pray this morning hour for all those in distress, members of our beloved home, and names unknown to us, those receiving unwelcome news, those breathing their final breaths. We pray too for those celebrating moments of elation, new commitments and marriages, school years beginning, adventures undertaken, warm summer days. We lift up those facing injustice and oppression, those living with war and those in harm's way, those fleeing to safety, those seeking rest. We lift up the sufferings of our planet home. We remember the oceans and the verdant forests, the wildfires, the extinctions, the floods. May our hearts be opened, celebrating with those in joy, holding fast to those who suffer, and remembering those who grieve. May our commitment to the well-being of all be renewed. We hold the one life we share in mindfulness and in prayer. Let us hold together stillness and silence for a few brief minutes of silent meditation. we covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. This is the first principle of our liberal faith, and it's the principle that our members often tell me that they find to be the most challenging to embrace and really embody in their lives. Many people have shared with me that the toxic political climate and the cultural wars of the past few years have made this cherished principle a particularly difficult one to put into practice. Perhaps you found that to be the case as well. I know I have. It really isn't difficult to imagine why some religions find it so easy to profess a belief in a deity who divides the good from the bad and leaves the latter behind. There's something satisfying in such a belief. It certainly has endured in human consciousness for quite a long time. Now, most of us have a difficult time affirming and promoting the inherent worth and dignity of every person driving in rush hour traffic on the 10, let alone affirming as much when we consider those who do harm, our enemies, or our political adversaries. Despite the dominant religious worldview in our society and this tendency of human nature to not witness to the worthy and dignified within each person, our Unitarian Universalist tradition discerned this particular wisdom and practice not to be a footnote in our liberal religious identity, but rather to be the very first principle of our living tradition. It's like the prime directive that we all agree to follow or attempt to follow as members of this noble liberal faith. Now, despite how challenging it may be for many, perhaps most of us, to live into the power and the real wisdom of this practice, I'm reassured by the fact that most people who make our congregations their spiritual homes indicate that it is because they found others who believe like they believed, and they tried to live in similar ways to how they also try to live. When I ask them about those beliefs, they almost always point to the 7 UU principles, and most often to the first one. I believe that's the case because the principles of our faith, which were discerned over hundreds of years by generations of faithful people walking this particular spiritual path, are an invitation to universal love. Love has got to be the first principle, was declared by the eminent Reverend Monica Joy Cross to an entering class of seminarians a few years back. And this witness was followed by our National Unitarian Universalist Association's board, discerning that love was actually the core, theological core that informed all of our UU religious principles. We explored this in depth in a previous service, but essentially they identified that the motivation behind the covenantal agreements that we make with each other about how we treat other people, practice our liberal tradition, and work for a better world and restored planet all find their grounding in love. Indeed, all of our principles find their roots in the fertile gardens of universal salvation, cultivated by our daring spiritual ancestors over many generations. In times when it was dangerous to declare such a heresy that divine love could be so profound that it would save all people, they found the courage to face the prevailing religious and cultural forces and the tendencies of human nature to witness to a love universal. For generations, our movements labored to make that love real by pursuing human betterment and preaching the gospel, in the words of the early Universalist John Murray, that gives people not hell, but hope and courage. We dwell in this garden of theological riches in our current day, And the spirit of universal love still moves and dwells within and among us and finds expression in the modern principles of our faith and our central affirmation of the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Now, it has always seemed to me to be easier to believe in a God who was unconditionally loving than to live and behave in a way that is unconditionally loving ourselves. What's the old bumper sticker say? Jesus loves you, but everyone else thinks you're a word we're not going to say in church. Sure, believing in a loving deity puts the onus, the responsibility to love universally elsewhere. Well, in our congregations of liberal faith, we've tried to accept these responsibilities by naming them as the basic tenets of the living tradition. We affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person, because this is one critically important way that we embody this love that is universal in its embrace. We don't have to believe in a deity or the Buddha or even anything supernatural to practice this kind of profound compassion, though certainly some of us find some of those beliefs helpful. Our moral development as people includes growth in our ethical capacities to discover affection, care, and compassion for others, even when it's profoundly difficult. When we celebrate great figures of history like Sojourner Truth, Dorothy Day, Mahatma Gandhi, or the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., what we commonly admire about them are their capacities to embody a selfless love that's directed towards the whole of humanity. Certainly that is something that they learned through their own strivings, the struggles and the loss, and I'm sure the defeat. They had to grow their hearts to be able to transmit such altruism to our world. Now, I believe we're all capable of doing the same in our own ways and in our own lives with a conscious awareness of the expansiveness of love and the depth of its presence in our beings, and through the practice of learning to celebrate and share it in ever greater measure. The transformative Universalist minister, the Reverend Dr. Clinton Lee Scott, a Universalist Christian who then became a more global religious humanist and helped to merge our two traditions into their present form, invited the faithful to consider universal love from a cosmic perspective. He and others imagined our reality not as without or meaning or purpose as is assumed in the mechanistic model of the universe, which is essentially a model that views the universe as a wristwatch. You know, has its moving parts and everything kind of does its thing. This is the model that predominates in our contemporary cultures. But the early generations of Unitarian Universalists dared us to consider a sacred reality that was held in a loving universal embrace. He wrote, "A vast encompassing universalism has ever been the condition of our world. Beyond the orbit in which we move is the pulsating, ever-changing universe. Individually, we grow with the growing awareness of our relatedness to all that is. From the east comes the sun, bringing a new and unspoiled day. It has already circled the earth and looked upon distant lands and far away peoples. It has passed over mountain ranges and the waters of the seven seas. It has shone upon laborers in the field, into the windows of homes and shops and factories. It has beheld proud cities with gleaming towers and also the hovels of the poor. It has been witness to both good and evil, the works of honest people and the conspiracy of knaves. It has seen marching armies, blasted villages, and destruction that wasteth at noonday. Now unsullied from its tireless journey, it comes to us, the messenger of the morning, harbinger of a new day. He witnesses universal love in the outpouring nature of this important source of life. Might our hearts too be like the sun? The Reverend Matthew Fox, the American Episcopal priest and theologian who was famously excommunicated from the Roman Catholic Church for proposing a creation spirituality, which aspired to re-sacralize our perceptions and relationships with Mother Earth and the cosmos. And the theorist Rupert Sheldrake noted that when we transcend the limitations of the mechanistic model of reality, this wristwatch model, and I'm not talking about smartwatches, I'm talking about old school watches, 'cause I'm old school, and instead adopt a quantum and organic model of the universe, all sorts of new possibilities become apparent. Principal among them, they argue, is to imagine that a fundamental force that gives coherence to the entire universe, that binds everything in it to everything else in it, the gravitational force, is an expression of a universe that is in love with itself. Now, of course, this kind of poetic thought goes far beyond the parameters of contemporary science, but it leaves us with, at best, a model of the universe that is infused with a primordial love and affection, and at worst, a creative metaphor for the depth and expansiveness of love. Now, it's a wonderful thing to imagine our universe and our natural world filled with an all-encompassing love that is greater than anything we human beings have created. The sages of old tell us that the same universal love that we might imagine to fill the whole universe is also contained in the infinite depths of our own beings. Unlike so many of our natural resources, it is a spiritual resource that can continually be drawn upon and received without the risk of depletion. It can draw ever greater circles of love and compassion around ourselves, the people with whom we share our lives and our world itself. We can grow and blossom like a flower offering its great beauty and perfume to the world around us. Of course, love is a reciprocal reality, so we must give it and receive it if it is to be sustained without end. Practicing of universal love also doesn't mean that anything goes, or that evil is left unconfronted and able to grow and spread amidst the radiance of love. Indeed, our Unitarian Universalist sources summon us to heed the words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. Love requires us to practice accountability and to nurture healthy boundaries so that we can undergird and fortify our capacities to offer more of it. The anarchist Catholic worker Dorothy Day once observed that she could only really love God as much as she loved the person she loved the least. She could only really love God as much as she loved the person she loved the least. We might also say that we can only embody love as much as we love the person we love the least. Working with those living on the streets, she commonly remarked that this was not the kind of work one engaged with if they were expected to be treated well or shown gratitude. Our liberal faith calls us to be of service to those living on the margins and calls us to affirm the ways in which we too have lived in the margins. Humility reminds us that we rarely know the experience of another or what makes them who they are or the way they are. We do not condemn anyone to their worst moments, but rather we affirm their deeper worth and dignity. The great Trappist monk and Buddhist practitioner Thomas Merton once expressed that his experience of living in silence in the monastery led him to believe that our job is to love others without stopping to inquire whether they are worthy. All can be worthy of love, and we can still practice accountability and maintain healthy boundaries. The ancient Upanishads of the Hindu tradition, a collection of some of the oldest religious texts on the planet, observes, one who sees all beings in their own self, and their self in all beings, loses all fear. Now there's a good spiritual practice for us to attempt over the next week. Trying to see yourself in every person and trying to see them within yourself. Imagine how that might further our efforts to dismantle white supremacy, cis-heteropatriarchy, the prison industrial complex, the capitalist exploitation of workers, and an ableist culture. Imagine if we could go even further and see all beings within ourselves and ourselves in all beings. We might even dismantle factory farming and the destruction of the oceans and the rainforests while we're at it. It's difficult to free ourselves, though, and to see ourselves, our neighbors, and the universe we inhabit in new ways. Let us aspire to such a possibility. I hope you will accept this invitation to universal love and join with the generations who attempted to practice it and make it real. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Thank you for those powerful words. Our practice here at UUSM is to dedicate half of our non-pledge Sunday offering to organizations doing work in the world that advances our Unitarian Universalist principles. The other half is used to support the life of our church. This month, the UUA Disaster Relief Fund will receive 50% of our offerings. Disasters impact our congregations and communities with increasing rapidity. From natural disasters like wildfires and hurricanes to human-caused calamities, UU congregations, their members, and their community partners bear the impact. The Unitarian Universalist Association Disaster Relief Fund is part of a covenant between the UUA and congregations, between congregations who give generously and those in need, and with our community partners. Donations from across the nation allow the national organization to respond quickly and flexibly. Grants can be used to repair damage to congregations' buildings or for temporary relocation, to help members and friends who require housing assistance, and to support partner organizations that serve the community on the scene, particularly those that may not be eligible for other funding. Our ushers will now collect the offering in the sanctuary. You can also donate by text, online with our website, or by check. To donate by text, send a text to 844-982-0209 with the amount and the fund for the donation. For example, you can text $10 GCC for a $10 donation to the Generous Congregation Fund. For text donations, a one-time only credit card registration is required. Thank you all for what you can give monetarily and for all that you give of yourselves to build our community. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Okay, please rise in body or in spirit for our final hymn, which is not in our hymnal. This is another tune from the Justice Choir Songbook, so we'll sing it once, and then we'll teach you line by line so that we can learn the tune together. Response. Ready? 1, 2.
We walk in love, united in purpose. We walk in love, united in purpose. We join our hands and lift up one voice. We join our hands and lift up one voice. We speak the truth with strength and compassion. We speak the truth with strength and compassion, resounding with hope, with courage and joy. Resounding with hope, with courage and joy.
All together now. 1 and
We walk in love, united in purpose. We join our hands and lift up one voice. We speak the truth with strength and compassion, resounding with hope, with courage and joy. We cry for peace and rights for all people. We welcome friends from far and near. We fight for those whose voices are silenced, resisting in faith until all are free.
we dream.
We dream a world of justice and kindness. We build a bridge, creating new paths. We march with joy as all walk together, embracing each one. We boldly stand, embracing each one. We boldly stand.
Beautiful.
May you go in peace. May you hold fast to that which is good. May you return to no person evil for evil, but may you strengthen the faint of heart. May you support the weak. May you help the afflicted. May you go forth into this day and be blessed and may you be a blessing. Amen.